All right, we'll call this public hearing for the, I guess, Planning Commission for
Consideration of the new zoning, comprehensive zoning map and comprehensive development code.
that. And with that, Juliet, I'll let you kind of explain what we're,
I think most people in the room are either Aldrin, we do have a couple guests here, and Troy's new. Juliet, if you want to just kind of go over the zoning map and kind of hit the highlights, we don't have to go into a lot of depth. But
we've been working on this for what, a year and a half?
we started in January of 2022 on both of these projects, so it's been a long ride, and most of these people in the room have been to a lot of meetings discussing this stuff, so
Juliet's gonna miss us.
they're a little weary.
So basically what we did, if you were here when we did the comprehensive plan update, you know, that was kind of a policy document on envisioning what the future of the city, you know, should look like. And then once that was adopted, then we went to look at, you know, what parts of the zoning code were not reflective of, you know, how the city that took place. So, I mean, a long story short, I mean, a lot of what we do when we do these, the comprehensive plan and the zoning, is that kind of look at your city in a common sense sort of way, right? You understand that the commercial and the scale and size and the intensity of the commercial you're gonna have, you know, along the bypass would be very different than what you have, you know, internal to the city. So we try to make districts that are reflective of what we have going on now, right? Because before you really only had two commercial districts, and there's a lot more nuance up the like, you know, inside your city. And so really we have these districts that are put in place that again are reflective of the scale and intensity and form of the buildings, that you know, types of uses that you want to see there. So that's really what a majority of this is. Some of it, you know, we looked at the existing zoning, and things like R1. We didn't make, I don't think we made any changes to the R1 category. Things that were R1 before, we brought in this R1. We did change some of the zoning that is along, Douglas, Pittman, to be kind of more reflective of what is there. Really, there shouldn't be anything that prohibits any uses that were there before. A lot of it enables people to have a little more flexibility with the property, to be able to respond to the market in regard to different types of you know, smaller commercial or residential. Again, with guardrails on it to make sure that everything stays in scale with what the city has. Throw a neighborhood market and quite a bit, I think. Or something like that. And so that's really the long and short of it. I don't know what we added some landscaping standards and some commercial design standards.
Residential multifamily standards.
Yes, residential multifamily. That was something that we heard from both the planning commission and people that came, you know, in, that there's gonna be multifamily and you don't want it to be, you know, low quality. Have high quality there. So we put regulations in place.
And this is kind of a two-part hearing tonight. We're looking at a comprehensive rezone map, which essentially rezones the entire city. That's not to say there aren't areas there that are rezoned exactly how they were. The majority is, but we did look at areas like along the highway corridor, and a lot of that was still in ag zones, and we moved it to commercial zones because that's obviously the most logical place for it. And then the second part of this is also our Unified Development Code, which is all of the nuts and bolts of how we do planning and zoning. It's got your zoning code in it, your subdivision code. It's got codes for streets, master street plan is in there. Your water specifications are in there. Your street specifications are in there. Fence ordinance, fine ordinance, parking ordinance, all those things are combined into one code called the development code. So we also went through that, and we've been working on updating all those codes. So that's part of this tonight as well. And part of that kind of ties to the new zoning map because we've actually created a lot of new zones that are more flexible for developers. They're mixed use zones. So it's more reflective of what we're seeing today with commercial downstairs and residential upstairs in different types of commercial units. It would allow those kind of uses because it's a mixed use zone as opposed to just strictly a commercial zone. So most of our commercial zones do allow certain types of housing in them now with the new zoning code. And I think that's probably the major change that we made in the new zoning code is creating these new districts. And with that, if the public has any questions, it's a public hearing and this is for the public to speak. So if anybody from the public has any questions or wants to comment.
No questions, comments, concerns?
I would like to say this has been a 2-year process and I'd like to thank all of the people that have been involved in that because there has been a lot of meetings and a lot of late nights too. So they put in a ton of work on these maps and this new development code and I want to thank all of them.
Close the meeting.
Hearing none.
Consider the public hearing closed. And we'll wait a few minutes for
With that, we will, I'll turn it over to the mayor.
We wait at 6:30, simply call the council meeting at 6:30.